51 Board of Directors there we go. We're wired. Meeting of May 7th, 2018. What I'd like to do to start is an approval of the minutes for April 23rd, 2018. Please remember that the only ones who can vote are those who attended that meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from our April 23rd, 2018 meeting.
And could I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? It's passed. Thank you. 1 second, please. First, what we'd like to do is we have Olivia Kosker from the GMS 45 Green Team, who, would you like to come speak to us and tell us what, yes, please, go right up to the podium, and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I have the pleasure of working with the GMS 45 Green Team. There's about 20 to 27 members of us. And we meet bi-monthly and set goals in September for our work this year. And the students get to pick the initiatives for those environmental things that we work on. And they decided that they really wanted to work on things about peer recognition of our environmentally forward behaviors. They decided that they wanted to tell more about to their peers about how they could have green actions in school, and that they wanted to do things for the community and the environment, such as planting things. So some things that we achieved this year is the students worked on educating their peers about some green initiatives using our morning slideshow, thanks to Carol MacArthur for supporting us.
Are you okay with that sun in your eyes? Can we move the podium over, or is there some way
There
that
you go.
block
Got
it?
it.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
You are like, it's always hard. It also
Might
I was
be.
having like sympathetic for
Spotlight.
Thank you. The other thing that we did is we worked on some green projects, such as making bird feeders in the winter for using biodegradable ingredients, which some of them may talk about. And then we made seed paper to plant in the spring with recycled paper and seeds. And then we had a culminating Green Week event to celebrate Earth Day all week 2 weeks ago. And the students recognized their peers for all their green efforts in class in their class and in their school after they had taught them it. And we invited some members to come join us if they wanted to speak really quickly about what the Green Team means to them.
Absolutely.
So if Moby, Andrew, Eden, and Ajar want to share any thoughts about what it's been like to be on the Green Team, I can move this down for you. You can come
And
on
we're
up.
really looking forward to learning.
Yes.
Come on over. You can all come over.
Come together and then take your turns.
So I'm here to talk about what we usually do in Green Team. So Mrs. Kosker usually gives us like stuff to do. Like she'll put it on the whiteboard, and then we'll like choose what we want to do, and then we'll do it for mostly the rest of the time.
And it's fun.
Yes.
And you learn a lot.
Yes.
Excellent. You can all stand with all around
Why
in
don't you all do it?
support.
And you could all just tell us like your favorite part and like really basic.
One thing that we did was like the morning slides where we could work in pairs or we could work by ourselves on Google Docs, and we got to make these slides and they'd be posted on the morning announcements, and then they'd kind of tell about like what to do and how it affects things like straws, like they can hurt turtles and stuff, so it kind of was fun.
My favorite part about Green Team is probably when we did the Green Week, because it was fun passing things out to people and telling them how they're being green.
I love Green Team for many different reasons. One of them is because I am the one who designed the green leaf. Who and I all of us passed out to people who were being green. And yeah, it was really fun.
Wow.
Thank you. We are, everything that you're doing is good for the school, it's good for the earth, and it's teaching us. And we really look forward to this project. It's very important to us. We have an environmental stewardship group. So you guys thank you so much for coming to us, and keep up the good work. The next recognition is for our student senior board representative, Andrew Eckert, who will be graduating this year and going off to,
I will be attending Hobart College in the fall.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Andrew has provided a voice for us that has been candid and informative and humorous and just all around so generous and rich to us. And so we really appreciate it. We know we've seen you with wet hair after practice, we've seen you before exams, and you always give us 100%, and we really appreciate it. So best of luck.
I would just like to say, if I may, I'm very thankful for the board coming to high school, or just in general. I never really pinned myself like as the kid that would be the sort of like board representative or student board representative. But sort of the opportunity, I guess, like presented to myself, and then I decided to take like a leap of faith, and it worked out. And honestly, like it's just really interesting to see like what's going on throughout the entire district. I mean, like as a student, you're sort of like isolated in your own little bubble. You go to school from like 8 to 2:15 or whatever. But just having like a different perspective on what goes on is just amazing. And then also, it's just a great opportunity. I mean, it was a huge talking point, like when I was doing college interviews, and actually being able to like talk about what's going on and like issues that are up and arising or like things that have come up. So yeah, I just want to say thank you, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's right. Next, we're going to have Carol MacArthur present the wellness plan, which has been eagerly awaited. I'm really looking forward to this. I know there's been a lot of hard work for a long time behind this.
Green Team.
Green team. You can,
If you guys want to.
if you can stay, or you can
Yeah,
leave.
yeah, feel
Yes.
free
I'm
to-
sorry. Feel
yeah.
free, green team.
We could be here a
Yeah.
while.
Be free, green team. I'm sorry.
That's right. I just wanted to.
Yeah,
make sure
of
they
course.
knew.
I wanna keep-
We've got a future board rep here.
I know.
All right, well, I don't know if this is on, but while they figure out the technology, I'm gonna
Yeah.
move the podium a bit.
Can we just move the podium?
No curtains over there.
I think the sun moved.
All right. This might be a traveling road show.
That's why I put a plug in for more money for technology. All planned.
Yeah,
Or both.
Right?
A well-placed piece of construction paper.
There aren't curtains or shades there.
Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna miss my beautiful first slide. It's the one I'm most proud of. It's a picture. So I'll do a little filler here while we get started. I did check the projector before I sat down, and it was working. So I am Carol MacArthur. I'm the 4th and 5th grade principal and newly appointed, anointed, and transferred ownership over to chairperson of the District Wellness Committee. Our group has been in existence. All right, there we go. Thank you, Andy. Our group has been in existence since March of last year, and the committee came out of one of the district's strategic plan goals that set forth that we would develop a wellness plan to address the health and wellness of our students and staff. As you can see here, it's goal number 2, every child, every classroom, every day. And the action step was specifically to develop a wellness plan. So in March 2017, a district wellness committee convened so that we could begin this work. We have a wide stakeholder group that's participating on this committee, and I have every person who's been a member since March 2017 through those who are participating today. There are some members that only took part last year, and a few of them reached out and said, "Are you sure you want my name on that plan?" Or at least on this slideshow. And I did think it was important for you to see the different membership that we had. And while some people were not part of the work that we did this year in developing the actual plan, they were part of the work in developing the foundation for the plan. So I thought it important to make sure that everyone's name was listed. And this membership, as we go forward, may ebb and flow, but in terms of our stakeholder groups, we certainly will maintain the profile of the Wellness Committee. So a little bit about our journey. The committee met on a monthly basis starting back last March, and we had a number of different charges that we put forth in order to get to our ultimate goal of drafting a wellness plan. We began by reviewing other wellness policies and providing input on language and purpose. A subgroup wrote a current draft policy, making sure we wanted to keep the contents broad enough to guide our district work, but not limit the activities and programs that we might implement. And our wellness policy actually went to the board wellness committee, the board policy committee a little over a week ago. And then we also were seeking legal counsel in terms of making sure that our policy reflects current state expectations. As noted, this is required by the DOE, and there are actually substantial changes that we're going to need to be making to the policy that we drafted. So I am working with someone from Drummond Woodsum to incorporate a little bit more information into the policy. That will come back to you at a later date. It was our intention you were going to be able to read it for the first time tonight and give consideration to approving it, but there are some specific areas that we need to include in the policy that we had not known about when we drafted it. So that will be coming to you. Last spring, we spent time creating an inventory of the wellness activities and programs that we have within the district. We spent quite a bit of time making sure that we were accounting for the wide variety of wellness opportunities that are offered, as well as making sure that we were not duplicating any efforts. So if there were other groups that were taking on particular initiatives, we didn't see it necessary that the Wellness Committee take those on as well. Once the Wellness Committee was familiar with our current wellness activities and programs, we developed a work plan for ourselves, and the ultimate goal of that was to draft a comprehensive wellness plan, and that was what was articulated in the strategic goal that you saw at the beginning of the presentation. Across a series of meetings last spring and this fall, we gathered committee feedback regarding the areas that we wanted to include in the wellness plan. We brainstormed different activities and outcomes that might accompany each of those areas. And once we felt we had gathered all the relevant input, we identified 6 priority areas that would be the focus for our wellness plan. When considering what the priority areas were going to be, we did think about, as I said, the work that was already going on in the district and what might also be absorbed by other groups. And we also needed to consider the influence and the capacity of the actual wellness committee. The committee was set forth as a recommending committee, and so we wanted to make sure that we could actually attain the work that was articulated in the plan. So once those 6 priority areas were identified, we began the process of actually writing the wellness plan, and that included objectives, a timeline, activities and action steps, and the responsibility for all the work. Much of the initial work of the wellness plan identifies that a wellness ad hoc committee is going to complete certain activities and action steps. And at our most recent meeting, we brainstormed what the membership profile of each ad hoc group would be, and also possible facilitators. The plan is that those groups are going to begin to take shape next year, and that's according to the plan's timeline. And the board, you do have a copy of the timeline, which was set forth in a two-phase process. The first phase is really getting the committee to do their homework and get educated on recent research and whatnot, and then the second phase is really about implementation of those action steps. So the plan. As I mentioned, 6 priority areas. So those priority areas they're in no particular order, but with input from the district leadership team, the committee broke the plan up into those 2 phases. The first phase is going to begin next year. It'll go through the spring of 2020. And then the second phase is going to begin in the fall of 2020, and it will really continue until the work is completed. We thought that breaking the work up into these 2 phases allows all areas to be addressed throughout the life of the plan or until the work is completed. And it takes into account the need to balance the work of the wellness plan with other initiatives, as well as the capacity of those responsible for implementing those changes. So the plan itself, 6 priority areas. The first one, again, no order of importance in them, but first one that we were tackling was homework. So we want to make sure that we're taking into account the most recent research and best practice in order to develop a balanced progression of homework expectations K through 12. Some of our action steps are summarized here. Again, reviewing the recent research and best practice. We have a homework policy that we will be drafting, revising, and then putting forth to the board for approval. We want to make sure that we hold discussion forums with all of the different stakeholder groups so that we can gather input and insight. And then, of course, the biggest part will be to plan for any changes in our homework practices and communicate to all of our stakeholder groups. The next area is digital citizenship. And the digital citizenship objective is to create a positive school culture that supports lifelong, safe, responsible, and ethical technology use. We are looking to develop a K-12 scope and sequence to address digital citizenship. We have in existence now a district technology leadership committee, fondly abbreviated to TLC, because we like acronyms in education. So our TLC is, their job is going to be to promote and support that K-12 approach. And then we look to collaborate with our community partners to educate families about healthy technology habits and online safety guidelines. Substance use. We want to make sure that we are raising student, parent, and community awareness regarding substance use issues and the available resources and interventions that we can get ourselves aligned to. We know that this is an area that is requiring immediate attention, and we also know it's an area that is ever-changing. So we plan to convene stakeholder groups to gather input and insight into the specific areas of concern. We are looking to revise our student drug and alcohol use policy for board approval. We would like to get parent, student, and staff forums going that will talk about drug and alcohol prevention education, and then provide ongoing professional development for staff so that they are better able to understand and respond to the impact of substance use on student health, safety, and academic achievement. It's worth noting for our substance use topic, we do have a partnership with Casco Bay Can, and we have Beth Pullman Blake on our Blakeman Pohl, on our committee, and she has been instrumental in helping us to think through what our steps are to tackle this particular priority area. Physical activity and fitness. We want to support and reinforce lifetime fitness knowledge, attitudes, behaviors, and skills. We'd like to work with the district to recommend facilities upgrades that would promote physical activity and fitness for staff and students. And then again, looking at the recent research and best practices around movement breaks, and recommend changes that may either impact our curriculum and/or our schedule. Mental health. Promoting education and awareness of mental health resources and interventions, and our action steps in this area are to communicate and facilitate access to physical, mental, and social emotional health services for our staff and our students. We want to provide ongoing staff development so that our staff is, again, better able to understand and respond to the impact of mental health in the school setting. And then conduct a needs assessment so we can really determine where our gaps are in our mental health education and awareness and plan for changes in our programming. The last priority area is nutrition. And so we would like to promote safe and healthy eating behaviors and choices through consistent messaging and increased modeling and education. This happens to be one of the areas that's required to be in our policy that we didn't really explore in depth. So this will be a piece that will really be covered in detail in our policy that we'll put forth to the board soon. So we're looking to partner with the food services director so that we can understand the current guidelines and food and beverage offerings. We'd like to survey stakeholder groups to get insight and input on food and beverages in the school, both those that are sold to students, but also those that might be made available to students. Look for ways that we can promote nutrition education in the schools, and then again, our stakeholder groups, really important, make sure that we're communicating about safe, healthy food and beverage options in the schools. So our next steps. The Wellness Committee will continue to meet on a regular basis throughout the life of the plan, checking in on the progress of the ad hoc groups and the overall plan. The ad hoc groups are going to be meeting on their own individual schedules with a regular report out to the full Wellness Committee to ensure that the work that is being completed aligns with the activities and action steps and timeline that are articulated in the plan. And then as we enter into the implementation steps of each of the priority areas, we'll want to make sure that we're actively involving our district leadership team in the work of the Wellness Committee and making sure the progress with the wellness plan is regularly communicated out to all of our stakeholder groups, particularly around the areas that might be impacted by changes in our current practices. And lastly, this is our disclaimer statement. So we have a very passionate group of people who developed this comprehensive plan over the course of many months. And we have people who are really invested in the work that we're about to embark on. We also understand that the wellness plan is ambitious and that it's going to require time and resources. Given the anticipated goal of the strategic plan around wellness as the foundation for teaching and learning, it's our hope that the wellness plan will dovetail nicely and support the district's work for the next few years. And lastly, we would take this opportunity to solicit any board members who would like to be involved on any of our ad hoc groups that will be meeting next year. If there is a priority area that you're particularly interested in, I'd love to hear from you, and we would look to next year to see what that plan looks like. Questions?
Well, I can say, what I would like to say is thank you. First of all, for the fantastic work. Every time another aspect of the plan went through, I was like, yes, yes, yeah, no, it is exactly things that we're talking about. They're serious issues, but it's being really handled in a deliberative, caring way. And so I, for one, and I think the whole board is really looking forward to the work of this committee, and we're very appreciative for what you've done so far. Are there any particular questions? I think we're going to be talking a lot about wellness in the year to come, and you will beat the bushes. I think we'll probably have a number of people who, some of those committees kind of caught my attention, but thank you very, very much, and please thank you to your committee. Do you have something you want to add on?
I was just going to say I want to thank Carol. As you mentioned earlier, she kind of stepped into the role of chair a few months ago inadvertently. So I don't know what happened to the other chair.
He showed up late to a meeting.
Anyway, Carol's done a great job leading this very diversified committee, and we also have some great committee members who served on it, and I'm trying to see if there is anybody here. Oh, Chris Lindsay's back there, a parent, and we had some great discussions around the importance of wellness and all the areas of wellness that we wanted to highlight. So I just want to thank the entire committee and Carol for all of the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
So next, we're going to have the superintendent's report.
And I also just wanted to let you know in your packet, there is a schedule of the wellness plan in the phases that Carol was mentioning, and it's a more comprehensive look at the plan and all of the activities and action steps that would be potentially completed over the life of the plan. We've had a lot of things continue to go on. This is a really busy time of the school year. It's a very exciting time of the year as we're looking at the closure of the school year in a few weeks. There's the activities accelerate this time of the year. Greeley Middle School 4-5 raised funds through their Habitat for Humanity walk at the end of March. And last week they donated $6,500 to Habitat for Humanity. Just an amazing amount of money that the students were involved with raising. The high school second annual freshman class trip for college and career readiness was just held a few weeks ago. This was to the University of New England in Biddeford. So that was a great opportunity for all of our freshmen to see colleges, and this is one of many experiences in the college realm that students as they go through high school will have. The second annual University of Maine at Orono Junior Transcript Review Day had 29 students who met with UMO admissions representatives to look at all of their materials, find out what they're interested in, look at majors they might be interested in, and also look into scholarship and merit money. And on April 23rd, 16 students traveled to Maine Maritime Academy to participate in the Discovery Voyage program, which is open to, it's an opportunity for any student to be on the Maine Maritime campus and see firsthand some of the things that are going on, as well as, of course, to board one of the many vessels that are in the harbor. In this case, the Captain Clark, not Captain Cook, Captain Clark. Captain Crunch. No, there's no Captain Crunch there. Congratulations to Gregory Pershing, who was selected as one of 630 semifinalists to advance to the final round of the 2018 U.S. Presidential Scholars Competition. That's 630 students in the entire United States. Wow. That's an incredible honor. We've only had a few students over the years who have gotten to this point, and it is quite an honor. Congratulations also to 7th grade students Lauren Denon and Cassidy Dean. They were the winners of the Maine Municipal Association's If I Led My Community essay contest. And I would love to have them try a day in the superintendent's office. That would be great. I'm going to invite both of them in. Congratulations to 2nd grader Clementine Benham, whose artwork has been selected as the official elementary school winner for the 2018 Civil Rights Team Project Visual Arts Contest. And her artwork will be shown at the Civil Rights Team statewide conference, which will be held later this month. Congratulations to 21 Greeley Special Olympians on an outstanding job at the Cumberland County Track and Field Meet at Bonnie Eagle High School in April. We had 21 very happy and kids who did an outstanding job, and we had some awards that were given as well. 23 outstanding Greeley musicians represented our schools in the District 2 Honors Jazz Festival in April. They actually competed against 15 other high schools to earn their spots, and we had a lot of students, and if I had to read them, it would take the next few minutes, so I won't, but you can read it in my blog tomorrow, who also received awards at the Jazz Festival. And at Paths, I'd like to recognize Colleen Kopaz, I'm probably saying her name wrong, who was named the Paths Student of the Quarter for Early Childhood. Also Nick Tarbox for being selected as Paths Student of the Quarter for New Media. And Jillian Brown and Casey Newman, who competed in the Skills USA main competition in the Health Knowledge Bowl and placed with a silver medal. And those students have been working at, going to Paths and working down there as part of their program. And a couple other small ones. Here comes the judge. Garrett Goldsmith's 5th grade social studies students had the opportunity to learn about government from Chief U.S. Bankruptcy Judge Peter Carey and trial attorney Jennifer Pincus. They actually came into the classroom, answered all their questions, and explained what bankruptcy is all about and why you never want to be involved in that. So I thought you'd be interested in that, Gigi. Well, not about
Oh, boy.
as an attorney.
Yes. That's actually a very
Not
interesting.
not because you're. you've done it.
Let's hope.
So we'll talk later. Going back.
Tough segue.
Blooper on my part.
It might be.
Going back in time, Sheila Mayberry's 4th grade class made replicas of Jamestown settlements houses as they learned about Jamestown Colony. So I'll have photos and more information about all these stories as my blog goes out, hopefully tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now is the time for public comment. Tonight, as you likely know, we are going to be voting to adopt the budget that will then go to the district votes. This is a time for public comment. What I'd like to do is I'm going to first address the district, then we're going to have public comment, and then the item for action for the budget, which is later on in the meeting, I'm going to actually move that forward to the extent that there are people here who are for the budget so they don't need to go through our whole meeting. So, in other words, I'd like to go ahead and address the district. We're then going to take public comment, and then we'll go ahead and vote on that particular motion to adopt or reject the budget. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to actually go up to the podium.
Watch out for the sun.
Yeah, watch out for that. As I referenced, this evening, the board will adopt the budget that will be first considered by the public on May 17th at GHS and then at the polls on June 12th. I want to take this opportunity to address the district regarding the budget process this year. And in many ways, it's apt that I'm speaking at the podium that very shortly we will be taking public comment. And that's because I, like all of our board members, we are first and foremost members of this community. We have great respect for this community. We enjoy this community, and we have a duty to this community. But as a board member, our first commitment is to the schools, and more specifically to the education and learning of our children. And our district has so much to be proud of. Very soon, either sometime this week, the Ranger Connection is going to go out. I'm going to do a plug for this because it is an extraordinary document. It is a document that talks about us fulfilling our strategic plan, but also just the true stories of the really, and I don't think I'm gilding the lily here, the miracles that are happening at this school every single day. And all of these wonderful things that are happening is because of this community's commitment to education. A commitment that we believe is filled by this year's budget, reflecting a 3.8% increase, of which the vast majority is fixed costs due to salaries and benefits that as the largest employer in this district, this school is proud to pay to their staff. We see the success in our schools with our children and our graduates, but one of the complicating factors here is that as our schools begin to continue to excel, and as we begin to see increasing property values as people move for the schools, for the open spaces, for the recreation, and on and on. There is a significant portion of our community, and we recognize this when we put together our budget. We understand that as property values are increasing, there is a significant amount of the community that struggles with taxes or feels, frankly, that taxes are too high, especially for some, if they no longer have kids in the district. To reconcile these two competing needs, or the various competing needs, is really difficult. We talk about it constantly. As one of my colleagues said in putting together the budget, that she is always looking for the holy grail, that one item that besides the 15,000 or the 20,000 is really going to move the needle. But when we are faced with unfunded mandates, but also initiatives where we feel this district wants to bring their kids in learning, we feel that the 3.8 is absolutely responsible. To address the issues of the competing needs, though, we really need to have constructive and continual communication with the towns. And most of the time, that's exactly what happens. We always look for economies of scale, we look for collaborations. But recent communications with the town of Cumberland have gone awry. Recent communications that, as chair of the board of directors of this district, I feel I must address now. On April 9th, the town of Cumberland, the council of the town of Cumberland, considered its budget before voting on it. Unlike the public budget of the district, the town's budget is voted on by the town council. At the time, on April 9th, in response to public comment, members of the town council made comments about this board sufficient to warrant the forecaster to say that the town blames the school for tax hikes. In that meeting, it was said that this board before you, who I can say I witness every single day working on committees and getting feedback, that we should be ashamed of ourselves because of this budget. That if people in this district cannot feed their families, it is our fault. I reject this. Given these comments, Superintendent Porter and I met with Bill Shane and Mike Eads, who is the council chair. We left that meeting with the understanding that where individual council members and board of directors may have differing opinions about the budget, we would not use our respective platforms as a bully pulpit. We left that meeting with that understanding. Unfortunately, that understanding has proven not to be correct. We have learned shortly thereafter that the town of Cumberland intends to pass a resolution in some way not supporting our budget. We have asked repeatedly to see that, and though we have very good information that it was shared with others, the draft has not been shared with us. We hope to get it tomorrow. It will be considered by the town of Cumberland on May 14th, and I encourage citizens to go to that meeting. That resolution, although it has no real legal significance, its true significance is in the fact that we, under the structure of the Charter of Cumberland and the local form of governance, the schools are an independent body. The town councilmen are not elected to come in and comment on our budget. We work with them, we take their feedback. Alternatively, no one wants me to stand here and talk about the town of Cumberland's budget, which I could do, but that is not what we were elected to do. So, in the spirit of comedy, I ask that people begin to focus on our respective budgets and work together again collaboratively. What I do also want to talk and close with is that where, of course, the resolution is not legally significant, although it is very divisive and unprecedented, what is significant to some of us on the board, to the board and myself, is that I do think it is indicative of a portion of our population that wishes to change the budget. And one would think that after the board adopts it, that then it would just go and be voted for in June. And for a moment, I'd like to just take a brief little dogleg here and explain that what May 17th meeting is, because I don't think the community understands what happens then. On May 17th, we all gather in the gym, and we vote on the various warrants. And without being too much detail, it's just aspects that shows what amount will be going to the referendum and to the vote on June 12th in the traditional polls. What people don't understand is that, and we have an indication that people are going to try to modify it, is that there can be motions from the floor that various warrants or various items in our budget can be increased or decreased from the floor. So, for example, if someone wanted to increase a percent or decrease a percentage, they could vote to modify that amount from the floor. And if it is passed by a majority, that is what goes to the polls in June that we as citizens will vote on. What happens with a recommendation is it can be increased and decreased, but that vote can't tell the board how to actually effectuate that change. But we have an understanding that there may very well be an effort to decrease our budget at that May 17th meeting. And so I'm asking all citizens, whether you support it or not, to please go to that meeting so it is a representative meeting. It will, we have, in terms of what potentially decreases, we have heard people who have wanted decreases that could be as much as $1.2 to $2.4 million. I am not saying it is scare tactics or over drama or anything, but what that will mean in terms of if we approach our budget and how that would potentially impact us. If in fact we are facing that in a short term, meaning that we would have to effectuate a budget of 1.2, a cut of 1.2 or 2.4, what that means in terms of having to turn on that pivot is we would begin to have to look at whether or not we could continue community access to our schools to the extent that we are right now. We'd have to look at athletics. Right now in high school, we don't cut teams. Whether first teams would be something that we would continue to have to fund. Not because we don't think it's important, but these are real cuts. We'd have to look at class sizes. We'd have to look, as we have said, electives for high school electives, all that have been already signed up for. We would have to look at bus routes. I'm not saying it, again, as a scare tactic. I'm saying it is that if this should happen, we have to look at it. And the reason why this is a real concern is that last year, at that meeting, there were 76 voters. 76 voters. And if those numbers continue to decrease every year, and so if there should be a majority, that's what will happen. And so I ask people to consider to go to that meeting, be active, tell us what you're thinking, and we appreciate the support of people being here and listening to us. Please go, vote on May 17th, vote on June 12th, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you tonight. So with that, tough segue, hold on. We'll take public comment tonight. Would anyone like to comment tonight on the budget or otherwise? Please introduce yourself and where you live.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mancini, and I live in North Yarmouth. And when I heard about what was going on in Cumberland, I was so disappointed because, you know, I think our community is not just beautiful, bucolic, you know, and peaceful, but it's notable because we have a good education system. And that doesn't just benefit people who have children, that benefits the whole community. I mean, if you think that people are moving here because it's beautiful and it's peaceful, you think your property values are sustained and going up is because it's so peaceful and beautiful, then, you know, you can move to a lot of other places in Maine that don't have decent school systems. And when they sell their homes, they lose money. Your families lose money. When at some point, everyone is going to lose money if our school system tanks. So, and I'm proud to be from North Yarmouth, where apparently the town councilors were in constant communication with the school board. They had questions, they asked the questions, they did due diligence, and they got their answers, and they support the budget. So for me to hear that this kind of shenanigans, for a good polite term, it's very reflective of the national climate of dialogue where there's demagoguery. The school board, they're volunteers, they work very hard, they do what I consider to be some really boring work. I could have gone to some of those workshops, but I worked all day, I was tired. Thank you guys for doing that. I don't always agree with everything, but I support what they do. They're not giving themselves raises. So I feel like it's almost lazy for people to just show up at the last minute and say, you know, stomp our feet. And since I'm not on the board, I don't have to be as nice as Gigi, but you know, I feel like it's demagoguery. It's reflective of the national climate, and I'm proud that my town was responsible and involved all along. You know, these are difficult financial decisions to make, but I appreciate the work that the school board has done, and I just wish that in a small community like this, where most people know each other at least, by 3 steps, there would be honest, open communication. And it's shameful, and I feel really like embarrassed that I'm even like having to have this discussion with adults. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Hi, good evening. I'm Jim Balinson, resident of Cumberland, and full disclosure, a former member of the school board, but it's been probably about 6 years since I've served on the school board, and 5 years since I've had a child in the school system. So I have been a resident of Cumberland for 5 years without the benefit of the school system to be a evidence of or a benefit of a taxpayer in Cumberland. I just want to echo the comments about the importance of people coming out to the budget process. I think the full participation of people at the May meeting at the high school is just crucial. Whatever side you are on the issues, getting information. I know the school budget process is a very open and transparent process. I know the amount of work that has gone in by the board and by the school board staff, by the superintendent and by Scott Poulin. Those numbers are looked at very carefully. And I know that the vast majority of the spending are, as you say, fixed costs, or fixed in the sense of negotiated salary increases, the changes in costs that are not discretionary spending by the district. I think what's most important is transparency in the relationships between our official bodies and the voters of these towns. I think that's important for the school board. It's important for the selectmen in North Yarmouth and the council in Cumberland. I think the less theatrics that are part of that process, the better. And I know at least during my tenure, the school board would look for any opportunity for collaboration with the towns to save money. So I think it's important for the dialogue on both sides to remain respectful. But most importantly for people to take the time, take the hour or two that it'll take on that May evening in I guess 2 weeks when the budget meeting, or next Thursday maybe. May 17th, to come out to the high school and hear the discussion and be able to participate. So thank you for your work.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Carla O'Sullivan, and well, I've been here a couple times before, so I'm just going to keep saying it again and again. First and foremost, thank you to the school board for not only the work that you do, but your constant effort for open communication. I have sent emails and notes, I've had conversations, and the information is always just absolute. Anything I ask, they respond, and I could not ask for more than that. And the time they put in is the countless hours. So I have complete faith that the budget they're putting forth has been more than well thought through. So I certainly, although I haven't looked at the giant packet all the way through quite yet, I am going to take one home. But one of the things I wanted to say, I actually sort of fell backwards into Cumberland. I didn't move here for the school system. Quite honestly, I moved here because my husband's family lived here, and now my eldest stepdaughter, who is an individual with disabilities, she was a high school student here at the time. And they moved here because of the school system. And it is truly the best in the state. They were at a perfectly lovely school system, but it didn't have what MSAD 51 has. I am also a member of a little Facebook group called Quirky Moms. Of course, it should be Quirky Parents because, you know, we all have quirky children. But a lot of the individuals on this site have children who have all sorts of difficulties. It can be everything from extreme complications to, you know, just children who have sort of impulse control. And this is basically a place for parents to talk to other parents to say, hey, I'm experiencing this and whatever. And by far, the biggest conversation that happens is, I am in this school system and this is what is happening and I can't get help. I can't get support. I can't get anybody to talk and help my child with X or Y or Z. I never, ever, ever see a parent from MSAD 51 typing that. Many of them, and there are other parents from MSAD 51 who will say, well, in our school district, my child has a similar situation and this is what happened. And I went to this individual and then they helped and they brought in these resources. And those are resources that are going to have to go away if we don't have a budget to support them. So it's not just athletics. It's not just children with disabilities. It's all sorts of different pieces that will suffer. It's our kids. And you know what? In 13 years and whatever, when my child is no longer in the school system, somebody's child is going to be in this school system. And if it's no longer important to me, I am more than welcome to sell it to somebody else who does have children in the school system, because there are no houses for sale in this town because everybody wants to live in one of these two towns. So I have faith in the budget that has been proposed, and I am more than happy to chat with anybody to help them understand how much time and energy the school board has put forth for this. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the 17th and the 14th and the Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comments? Okay, what I'm going to then do is go ahead and move forward with the vote on the budget. And after we take a motion, I'm going to ask the board if they would want to share their thoughts. We'll take it from there. So could I please have, I'm just going to the items for action. So it will be, it's what is presently on items for action 9C.
I move that we vote, call, and approve the warrants for the budget meeting and the validation referendum, and to authorize the notice of amounts adopted. Is that right? Or no?
I think you have to do the recommended vote,
You can
right?
just say as presented.
As presented.
As presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
At this point, discussion.
How do you want to start? Want me to start?
Do you want to just go down the line?
Yeah, do you want to, Sarah, do you want to?
There you go.
You know what, why don't we do this? Why don't we let Karen start as Chair of Finance, and then I'm going to bounce around just so she can hit
Oh,
some points.
sure.
Yeah.
Put me in the hot seat. Yeah, I usually get to go last. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone who came this evening and shared their thoughts on the budget. And I'd like to thank Gigi for giving us a district-wide perspective. I actually agree with Gigi and with many of the thoughts expressed this evening that I'm very proud of our two communities. That's one thing that I actually feel very strongly about. I'm proud of how both of our towns support those who are on fixed incomes through tax rebate programs and through the Aging in Place Cumberland and the Living Well North Yarmouth initiatives. And that's something that other towns are now, I just saw in the paper, in the forecaster, I think, actually, Alex, that Cape Elizabeth is looking at adopting a tax rebate program for their towns. So I am proud of our towns for that. I'm also proud of our teachers. I've participated on many committees. I won't list them all because there's a ton. I was at one today at 4 o'clock, and Susie was there. And I just have to say, our teachers show up. They show up. They show up every day, not only in the classroom, but they show up to coach sports teams. They show up to run extracurricular activities. They show up for performing arts practices and performances, and most importantly, they show up as trusted advisors for our students all the time. I'm proud of our administrators for managing a school system that is the largest employer in our two communities. We manage over 2,000 students and 350 plus staff, and that is no easy feat, I can tell you that. Gigi did reference the Ranger Connection that's coming out. It has a wealth of information that I won't even bother to try to list here about all the initiatives that have been achieved in the last 3 years under the strategic plan. And as we all know, our budget is tied directly to the strategic plan and the strategic priorities of the district. And I just do want to, she's not here tonight, but I did want to thank our community relations manager, Ashley Caswell, because she's played a huge role in gathering that information and producing that report. This is, I think, our 4th Ranger Connection that's being mailed to all families in our communities. So it's a great piece of information for us to look at when we're examining the budget process. I'm proud of our community partners, Foundation 51 and the Greeley PTO. You know, without the hours of volunteerism, the fundraising that they do to provide grants to our district, the funding of field trips, you know, they actually reduce our budgets and our expenses in this community significantly and add to just by the sheer volume of volunteers, but also putting their money where their mouth is in terms of supporting strategic priorities and initiatives. So I'm also proud of my colleagues on the board. You know, Carla, thank you for your comments about the amount of time, and Jim, that the board finance committee spends. We start our budget process way back in November and march it through a series of meetings, and it generally, well, not generally, always, Jeff and Scott hold many more meetings than we do with our district leadership team and our administrative leadership team, relooking again at the budget to look at how we can reduce, in what areas can we reduce. So we have lots of vigorous discussion, but they're always respectful, and so I appreciate my colleagues' role in that. And, you know, I'm just going to say last but certainly not least, I'm really proud of our students. You can see, I'm going to call out 2 of them right now, our student board reps. You know, I've served for a number of years, and we always have 2 student board reps, and they add so much to the dialogue when we're talking about, you know, when you talk about numbers, it's one thing, but when you talk about impact and how, you know, when we fund something, what it looks like on the ground, when we make a change, whether it be to late starts or block scheduling at the high school, you know, the input that we get from our students is more worthwhile than any number that we can look at. And actually, Madeline was in that meeting with me this afternoon as well. They participate on committees. They're not, you know, and they are our boots on the ground in terms of feedback from students. So, you know, I'm just going to say that in general, I see our students show up. You know, they're shoveling snow for people in our communities through Aging in Place. They're providing support for the food pantry through all of the things, not only volunteering at the food pantry, but raising money for the food pantry, stocking shelves at the food pantry. They are in both communities doing tremendous things. And then they show up in the classroom and do all of the amazing things that Jeff reports out on, or you know, they show up on the field or on the basketball court and win state championships. It's truly amazing. I don't know how they pack all that stuff in. So I would just say that we have a lot to be grateful for, and that's where I would really like to keep our conversations on the budget. You know, this budget for me is a compromise. You know, we have strategic priorities. We were only able to fund just over $300,000 of those strategic priorities. I'm looking at administrators here who advanced $500,000 more, you know, that were tied directly to our strategic plan that are unfunded. So it's truly a compromised budget. We have provided back almost $500,000 to reduce the tax impact, $200,000 of fund balance, $215,000 of the reduced health care costs, when those costs were reduced, we put $215,000 back to reduce tax impact, and $75,000 from retirements. That when we, if we have someone retire at a higher wage, we can fund that position at a lower salary and benefits for the next year. So, fund $300 and some odd thousand worth of strategic priorities and provide $500,000 back towards tax impact. I mean, that's a compromised budget in my mind. So, but that's, that has involved a lot of conversations. And so I proudly support this budget and these two communities.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for all your work as Chair of Finance. You have marched us through for many, many months on it, and we really appreciate that.
Thanks. Glad to do it.
And so, just going down, Sarah, do you want to comment on the budget?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I, too, just want to say that I'm very proud of our community and I'm proud of our school district. I chose this town to come for my kids. I wanted the school district. I did a lot of research on it. And we moved here for the school, but for the community that surrounds the school. And the school is really like the heart of this town, I feel. And I see it in the advantages that the school has given to my kids already. They're in kindergarten and third grade, so we have a long road ahead of us. But it's not just in education, it's in confidence and also understanding what a community is, excuse me, and learning how to help out a neighbor and to be part of something. And I just want to say that, I truly support this budget. I have been on a school board before where it was not organized. It was not very understanding of what the town wants with our strategic plan, and having the budget really go in line with that. And I just hope that everyone will come out on May 17th and on June 12th and, be a part of the vote and be a part of the community and pushing this budget along. I, too, support the budget, and I'm very proud to be a part of this board. So
thank you. Yeah, well, I'm going to, Mike, do you want to comment? Mike?
Sure. So this is my first year on the board, and I used to be a typically disengaged parent, and for some reason decided that this would be a good way to give back. And it's been a real eye-opening experience in a lot of different ways. I didn't know what went into running a school district like this, or really the people involved. And I've met so many incredible teachers and staff people who just put every ounce of their being into this school. It's just been absolutely amazing. The work that goes into this is just been another eye-opener. Just as a board member, we've had to put tons and tons, hours and hours into this. I can't even imagine what Scott and Jeff and the administrators have had to do to get us to this point. And this budget is a good budget. We fought and scrapped and worked hard and got it to a point where we are, I think, all going to stand behind it at this point. I think a 3.8% increase is very fair, particularly when north of 3% of that is fixed costs. As Karen said, we really had to not fund a lot of real high priority things that could advance our school, and so we're trying hard to keep taxes down and costs reasonable for everybody. We certainly are cognizant of that, but we do want to keep our schools the best they can be. So thanks for coming out, and see you on May 17th.
Thank you. Tyler?
I'm also new, along with Sarah and Mike. I don't have any kids in the school system quite yet. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old, but they will be there soon. I've taken as many opportunities as I can in this first year to kind of look beyond the spreadsheets and presentations and graphs that we're quite often presented as board members. And one of the opportunities that I was given that Jeff sets up was the board goes back to school. I was able and grateful to attend all 4 of those tours. So we as board members tour around, we get to go into classrooms, we see what the students are doing every day. I was able to see some pretty amazing things firsthand. So response to intervention, I was able to see co-teaching models. I was able to see things like STEM and pathways and IB across all K through 12. And even though my time with each one of those classrooms was short, like 20 minutes, it was super clear that we are providing a really high quality education, both academically, emotionally, and it was just super clear on all levels, emotionally and social. I also want to note that the staff that supports them every day is super important and a huge part of this budget. There's no way that our students would be getting the education without the people that support them. A little while ago, we had a teacher come in to speak with us on a different topic, and she said something that really stuck with us, which was student learning conditions are teacher teaching conditions. And I think it's really important to know that, again, the quality of education would not be happening without the quality of our staff. I feel as though this budget is respectful of that task that we have every day to teach our kids and support the staff that leads them every day. Of course, I understand there's always ways to to work smarter, both on the educational side and also on a budget side. And I don't doubt that we will continue to make that a priority. Secondly, I'd like to say that I am a Greeley graduate. I returned here the past, I think it's been 3 years. I bought a home. I'm obviously a community member, active community member. I volunteer at my kids' co-op. My husband volunteers at the Land Trust. We do our best to really show others that being a part of the community is really important, whether it's to introduce them to new ways to connect or to have them join in. And this budget supports the next round of our community members. So whether it's people that are going to take our seats here or take council seats at the town, build efficient homes in our town or fix our broken pipes, all of those people we hope to come back here. So this budget really supports that next round of community members. And lastly, I just want to acknowledge how grateful I am to be a part of this board. I think we've all seen over the past few months that there's other communities around us that have really been struggling with how to navigate these difficult conversations. And I'm proud to be a part of a group that leads with respect and positivity and communication, and I'm excited to see what happens over the next couple of votes. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brown.
Hi. My intent is to support the budget that's presented here this evening. The backlash that kind of came out caught me a little bit off guard. After we had spent hours and hours poring over the budget through finance committee, through workshops, through meetings, really getting into the weeds, if you will, trimming hundreds of thousands of dollars of things that we've identified as important through our strategic plan, but we just couldn't move them forward at this time in a financially prudent way. We got down to a 3.8% increase, which is not ideal, but it's not a crazy large number either. So when the backlash came, I sort of had to circle back and just kind of delve into what I was thinking at the time and just question or looking for justification. But I think this is a good budget. I think it's a sound budget. I think that what we're putting forward is appropriate and responsible. And I agree with some of the genesis of the backlash. I want higher test scores and I want lower taxes. They're not implicitly mutually exclusive, and we work towards those objectives at every single meeting. We're always looking for reallocations and ways to shift and find efficiencies. And we're really doing the best we can, but we're fixing the plane while we're flying it. It's a high-performing school. Bear with us. But in hearing folks that don't have kids in the district. I've lived here for 19 years. I like to think it was sort of accidental that I ended up here, but my wife did graduate from Greeley, so it may not have been as accidental as I like to think. However, for the first 11 years that I was here, I didn't have any kids in the school. Now I have 2. Based upon some of the numbers that are being tossed around about average cost to educate a student in SAD 51, you are losing money on me every day. But I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. I love it here. I love Cumberland, I love North Yarmouth, I love the schools, and I support them, and I support this budget.
Thank you, Mike. Vicki?
Everybody's so eloquent.
You don't need to.
Geez Louise, I always get emotional about this stuff. I apologize. I'm just really, I've been here for 4 years. And before that, I was on the PTO. And it's just disheartening to think that we had to start the meeting the way we had to start the meeting. So I just want to put that out there. But with that said, this district rocks. I mean, we are so lucky to live in this district. And I know people will say, well, Falmouth spends this, or, you know, I always say, people hear me say, I don't care what Falmouth's doing. And, you know, I don't care what Yarmouth's doing, you know, obviously in jest, but when it comes right down to it, we are our own district. We spend more money in other places than other people do, and that's why we're such an awesome place to be. And Carla, thank you for what you said, because one of the things that gets identified is special education. You know, we're inclusive. Pathways, we're inclusive. You know, we're trying to reach out and educate all of the students. We're not trying to just, when we say academic excellence, does that mean we want to get the highest test scores? Well, I don't know. You know, I mean, I think that we want to have high test scores. We need to have the highest. Well, I'd rather not have the highest, but have a much more inclusive environment and have kids, that little green team. Oh God, those kids were awesome. I mean, that's what, you know, we're trying to implement into the school district. So in order to do those things, it does take some resources. And I think that as a community, you know, we need to be willing to spend them, because the return is is so phenomenal. And we see it in, like, you know, these 2 here, and we see it in the little ones that were here earlier today, and I just feel really fortunate. And just one plug for the teachers. I think for us to be looking for really huge cuts at this time would be, I want to pick a good word, impactful. Because I would like to just point out what the Greeley High School has been through in the past 2 years. They've had a schedule change. They've had to incorporate late start. They've had to deal with teacher evaluations. And oh, by the way, they've had to work through proficiency-based education, which now as a board, we support it, but we know the state has turned that on its head. And oh, by the way, they have to teach their regular jobs, subject matter stuff. So it's a lot going on, and it takes resources to do that. And we're really lucky that we have such top-notch resources. So that's a long way of saying I support the budget.
Thank you very much. Okay, yeah.
I support this budget wholeheartedly. I wouldn't have my vote if I didn't. There's been large spending projects that haven't gotten my vote. I consider myself very fiscally prudent. I bring, maybe sometimes a little too much, I bring my business eye to my school board work. I'm always looking for efficiencies, and it warms my heart to know that every single person on this board is also looking for the same level of efficiencies that I am. You know, I said in an email to someone today, I've spent months poring over these budget lines, looking for the holy grail of that money that is going to reduce our operating costs or this or that. These numbers have been looked at for hours and hours on end. While everyone's putting their Christmas decorations away in January, we're starting to think about our budget. It's a long process. It doesn't have a rubber stamp. I think there's a conception that, we're like a figurehead board and that just, it gets a rubber stamp, but there are just hours of conversation and disagreements and, numbers coming in at 6, no way. Okay, well, 4.6. Okay, well, 3.8, we took this and this off. There are so many unfunded priorities in this budget. So I can't say I understand the backlash that we've seen this year, but I think it's important to point out that what we have, the comments that we've had are coming from a group of individuals that we hear from every year. So it might be a little bit louder this year, but it's not different voices. It's not new voices looking at this budget saying, hey, this is a problem. It is the same conversation that we have with the same people every year, and that is okay. I am glad for any involvement that we can get, but I hope that the tone can be respectful, and I hope that everyone can remember what it is that we do here, and it is probably the most important work of any society. So I support this budget. I have looked at this budget hours and hours, and this is a very, very fiscally responsible budget, and a lot of efficiencies were found.
Thank you very much. So as you know, I'm not going to take much more time. I also support it. Just looking forward, I think Jim makes good points. I mean, we really didn't want this sideshow. There were a lot of discussions to really try to avoid this. At the end of the day, this budget is responsible, it's sustainable, it's going to move us forward, but also be respectful to the economic pressures that people are under. So we're going to move forward, and June's going to come and go, and we're going to move, and we're going to work with the towns, and we're going to continue to build this great community. So I do support it, and with that, I'm going to take a vote. Oh, I'm so sorry. Guys, I'm sorry. You want to comment on the budget?
I just
oh, perfect. Sorry.
I know it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. So one of the great things about being a board member is we see a different side of things. So, and it also, like I said before, it changes your perspective. So seeing sort of like the struggles of the budget and just money and numbers and everything like that, it makes me a lot more grateful and thankful for what I have right now. I mean, I'm a kid who accesses a special ed program, RTI. I also access IB, AP, and a ton of different like extracurricular activities. I play hockey and lacrosse. So I mean, what the school district, I guess, has given us, really, I can't explain it. I mean, I haven't been to a different district. I don't know a whole lot, but I do know my family did move here from Baltimore, Maryland. And in Baltimore, you either go to the public school and you don't really get that great of an education, or a lot of people send their kids to private schools where you spend crazy amounts of money, and you get an adequate education. So my parents moved here 20 years ago with my brother and my sister. They were deciding between Yarmouth and Cumberland. They chose Cumberland for the school system, also our house and our yard and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, in terms of extracurriculars, I took a personal finance class last year with Mr. Soul, great class, highly encourage it. But now I know how to invest in stock. I know what mortgages look like. I know how to fill out my taxes by myself. Not only are we getting a great education, but we're becoming more productive members of society when we leave here. And that's really what this community and what the world and country and everything else needs. And just the opportunities that are given to us students, although some might not see it and might not really take it into account, but a few of us, like myself and Madeline, we truly are thankful for what we have. And if it had been any other way, who knows? I mean, in middle school, looking back on it, I don't know where I would be if I wasn't admitted into a special ed program, but now I'm going to Hobart in the fall. I got scholarships. I'm set and I'm ready to go. And without that, I don't know exactly where I'd be. So with that, just having the resources, having the time, having the money, having everything that we have so far is just fantastic. And I don't know what it would be like without it. So.
I don't really want to go after that. But kind of like Andrew, I think one of the great things about this district is that they really don't put students in a box. I came from a different middle school, and I was in all CP classes, just the standard classes first year, and I've always been in standard science classes. And because of an opportunity I got freshman year, just like every other student, to participate in the science fair and create my own project and design, and learn what to do with it. I went back this year and I took a science research course as an elective, which is a special thing that's not supported at every school. It's not supported in a lot of schools in the area. And the first time I took that class this year, I had a project that related to school with opportunities that I got on the board, and I was able to participate in the science fair and experienced a lot of learning and success with that. And I just want to appreciate and thank the board and the school for all those opportunities that they give every student. It's not just a certain type of student that can succeed in this school. And I think without taking different approaches and looking at education as sort of a well-rounded thing like the board does and like the budget includes money to do, we wouldn't have the success that we have for every student.
And she's being modest when she said she was successful.
I was gonna say.
Can you share how successful you were?
I got a scholarship to Orno, and I got a Community Innovation Award. So
Thanks, guys. Now I will take a vote. All in favor of the motion? Okay, there we go. All ayes. Okay, with that, then I'm going to go ahead and turn to committee reports. Thank you to everyone for your... Okay, we got to sign the warrants right now?
We can do them now, or board members can stay and make sure they sign them this evening at the end of the meeting. Nobody should leave until we sign these this
Okay.
evening.
Everyone promise they won't leave? Okay, no, you guys can leave. Yeah. No one's going anywhere. Yeah.
Just need to make sure.
And guys, if, up to you, if you want to.
We could just do it at the end, right?
Yeah, no, they don't need to sign, but if you guys want to, you can stay or leave, whatever you want to do. I see you might have a passenger in your car.
yeah, might have to leave.
Okay. So, I think what we're going to do is we're going to sign those warrants after, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, so with that, let's turn to committee reports. Finance Committee?
I'm checking right now for, we had a meeting, I think we had a meeting on the 1st.
Thanks,
So our
guys.
next meeting will be the 15th. So we don't, our meeting on the 4th was to talk about the warrants and the process that would be going through at our budget referendum night. So I don't have anything exciting to report, and the warrants are all here, so thanks to Scott for doing a great job.
Yeah, Scott in general, I mean, and Jeff, obviously, but Scott, you've just, I'm sorry, Scott, I should have said this before, and I've been distracted by the.
We'll put him on for the 17th.
We'll put him on, okay, good.
The spotlight
You
will
just how
swing
much
over.
you've done year in, year out, and we are just so grateful for all you do.
Thank you.
So why don't we actually go to curriculum now? Because I know we have an item for action for policy. I'm gonna put that towards the end. So with a report from curriculum?
I don't really have anything to report right now.
Okay,
We
that's
don't
fine.
have anything scheduled.
All right. Negotiations. I know we're gonna be doing, having a motion there, but anything additional besides that?
Just that this week also be starting food service negotiations.
Okay.
So I'll be meeting with them this week.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for everyone's hard work on the negotiations committee. Facilities?
The Facilities Committee met early this morning. Quick update on the Greeley Center for the Arts. The work is approaching the halfway mark. If you notice when you were walking into the meeting here tonight, they're doing the masonry work on the back side of the building. They're working on the second floor slab, and there will be a major pour on Wednesday. So lots of things happening, exciting out there. Additionally, this morning, Steve Blatt came in and presented a draft version of the space study, which is a comprehensive review of all 3 of our facilities and current space uses and needs. We'll be distributing that draft to the entire board, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to workshop that at some point over the summer, and we'll likely do a public presentation in the fall.
Great. And I think that to the extent anyone's interested, that we will be, the PAC is still on Slack for, PAC, the Greeley Center for the Arts is still on.
It's on schedule and on budget.
Thank you for October, November opening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for that. Strategic, okay, Kevin's gone. Do you have anything for strategic planning? Okay. Environmental stewardship?
We are meeting Wednesday at 3:30. We are going to be reviewing and discussing Outdoor Classroom Week, which will be the 14th through the 18th, which is K through 12, voluntary, but highly encouraged to take kids outside. So regular classrooms can go outside, do their same thing. There's a global global Outdoor Classroom Week on the 17th, but we thought, based off of unknown weather and everybody's calendars and schedules, it would be great to extend it to a week. So we're going to be reviewing that and helping getting the word out for that. And then also hearing some reports from the groups that met in regards to the grants that we are most likely applying for the agriculture in the classroom.
Thank you very much. I excuse the students before student reports, but
They gave it.
I was just gonna say, I think they nailed it. So with that, I'm gonna move, and I'm gonna ask policy for a report, and then why don't we also just move into the items for action and do that second reading?
Sure.
Okay.
Policy is pretty much wrapping up for the year. We may have 2 more policies to get through, but I think things are slowing down. Budget is taking up a lot of time, so this might be the last you hear from us, and it might not be. We just don't know yet. So this second reading, expulsion hearing and reentry guidelines, is just a small change to designate a hearing officer as an impartial hearing officer versus a board chair or board attorney.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion for the second reading of JKER?
I move to approve policy JKER, expulsion hearing and reentry guidelines as recommended.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Great. Then we're going to then go ahead and vote to appoint individual to a teaching position for 2018-2019. The materials are there in, for a 4th, 5th special education behavior teacher. Yeah, Laura Lee English. Would someone like to make a motion with respect to this teaching position?
I move to appoint Laura Lee English to the position of GMS 4-5 Special Education Behavior Teacher for the 2018-2019 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
All, discussion? All in favor? Thank you very much. I think now we have to go into executive session. We can stay here for executive session, right, correct? And this will be an executive session to consider the labor contract between the district, the MSAD Education Association bus drivers and the MSAD Board of Directors pursuant to the state statute. Could I have a motion for that, to go into executive session to consider that?
I'll make the motion to enter executive session to consider labor contract between the MSAD 51 Education Association bus drivers and the MSAD 51 Board of Directors pursuant to state statute MRSA section 405-6D.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, with that, let's go into executive session. Oh, all in favor? All in favor, sorry, all in favor. Okay, executive session, please. No, we don't. No, we learned that we did.
Every time.
Okay. We're back on, I think we're back on camera, right? We are back on camera. Okay, we have been in executive session. We are now out of executive session. And if we could have a motion to ratify the 2018-2021 collective bargaining agreement.
I
Can I have a
move to
motion for that?
ratify the 2018-2021 collective bargaining agreement between the MSAD 51 Education Association bus drivers and the MSAD 51 Board of Directors.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. I think, unless anyone has anything else, I think we have our motion to adjourn. Could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I move that we adjourn.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Mike, you don't want to go? Thank you very much.
Okay, so don't go anywhere.
Okay, that's right, and we all have to sign in the same place.